Hello everyone, it's me, the Amazing World of Autistic Fanboy 2002 here, and today I'll be reviewing Scream 7, came out this year, so tells the story about, this is actually the 7th and final Scream movie, so I'd say, I've watched all the Scream movies, I've watched the original from 1996, yeah that movie's a masterpiece, and the sequel came out a year later in 1997, but the third movie, it didn't come out till 3 years later in 2000, and then we didn't wait till another 10 years in 2010. Yeah, and we didn't wait till 11 years in 2022, which is Scream 5, and 1 year later, Scream 6, and then we waited 3 years for this movie, Scream 7, which came out. Yeah, I just got back from seeing this movie today, so I'm being off topic. So let's talk about the story. So the plot is about where a couple arrive at that house like the one you see in the original Scream and Scream 5, where they look around and then they see that motion detective movement of Ghostface, and then all of a sudden the real Ghostface attacks the couple, and then all of a sudden Ghostface burns that house down, and then it fast forwards to where Sydney is with her daughter, and then her daughter wants to go hang out with her boyfriend, and then Sydney wouldn't let her, and then when Sydney went off the stage play, so Sydney went off with her friends, and then all of a sudden Ghostface is on the loose and he's about to kill Sydney's daughter, and then Sydney's friend gets killed while doing a stage play by Ghostface, and then Sydney arrives and then realizes that her daughter is okay. So you probably know Sydney. She's played by Neve Campbell, which you know her in the original Scream movie. And then, of course, Matthew Lillard is back in this film, but only as, oh god, artificial intelligence. And then we'll get to that bit soon, so yeah, sorry for my reviews for Cold Storage and Wasteman ended up being poorly, because I'm sorry I struggled to figure out what the plot is, because I've only watched the film once, and that's just about it. But thankfully I'll get better at doing reviews, so okay. Whenever I mess up in a review, I'll always pause, rehearse, because it's not that hard to do, and then say, take two. Right, but anyways, so I'm being off topic. Yeah, I've always said that, but back to the review. So, and then later they go to the tavern, and then when Sydney wants to make out with her boyfriend, and then also when Sydney's daughter, right, checks her boyfriend's laptop, and he realized he was using the AI of the bad guy from the original Scream movie played by Matthew Lillard, and then she hit her in the head. She hit him in the head with the laptop, and then Ghostface is on the loose, started killing people again, and then so okay, so Sydney tells her daughter to shoot Ghostface in the head, and he managed to take Ghostface down until so that another Ghostface appeared and kidnapped her, and then Sydney goes up to the house and then tries to save her daughter, only to find out that her father was being attacked by Ghostface. And of course, not just that. Yeah, so I like. There's the bit where Ghostface attacks the Sydney family house, and Sydney and her daughter had to hide behind the walls, and all of a sudden he tried to attack them by stabbing holes in the wall. All, you know what I mean? But there's a plot twist, which I don't want to explain the plot twist because I don't want to get into spoilers, so this is a non-spoiler review. So the movie ends where Sydney's dad is Sydney's daughter's father. Sydney and her daughter, Sydney's husband gets taken to the hospital after suffering from stab wounds, and then the movie ends when Sydney and her daughter and her friend, who is working as a news reporter, and then the movie ends, and that's how the movie ends. So overall, I had a fun time watching Scream 7 and all the other Scream movies. Yeah, because Scream is my favourite horror film next to Terrifier. Yeah, Terrifier, it's way too gory, but I still love it. But it's still my favourite horror film next to Scream. And my favourite horror games are Five Nights at Freddy's and, of course, Poppy Playtime. Yeah, the recent Poppy Playtime, which is Poppy Playtime Chapter 5, just came out. And there's going to be Chapter 6, which hoping Chapter 6 will be the final chapter of Poppy Playtime. So, overall, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. So, does this film have a proper closing it deserves? Well, sort of. My only flaw is that it's kind of like the original movie over again. But despite all my flaws, this is all I have to say. So I'll have to end the review here. So like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next review coming real soon.